If you've been around the Star Trek community for some time, you've likely heard of the Lost Era. This period in the Star Trek universe takes place between Star Trek The Undiscovered Country and Star Trek The Next Generation. Major historical events take place during this time but are not shown on screen. For example, the launch and destruction of the USS Enterprise-C. Okay, well, we did sort of see it in The Next Generation, but you get my point. The upcoming movie, titled Section 31, seems to be taking place in this era of the Star Trek timeline. The reason we think this is because of actress Casey Roll. She'll be playing the role of Rachel Garrett, the future captain of the USS Enterprise-C. Given the presence of this character, it's possible we could see other elements of the lost era of Star Trek. Things like whatever happened to the USS Enterprise-B, or even the launch of the Enterprise-C. While the movie will be obviously focused on Michelle Yeoh as Philippa Georgiou, I think it's important to explore some major events of Star Trek's lost era, as they may be relevant to the time we find ourselves in within the Section 31 movie. So, welcome to Star Trek Explained. Before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please answer your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, we want to hear about it. Okay, engage. Let's establish some dates. The Lost Era is set between the end of Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, which takes place in 2293, and the start of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, which kicks off in 2364. As fans, we are aware of some canon events that take place between these two dates. The Lost Era is around 70 years long, give or take a few. During this era, we are aware of significant events such as the launch of the USS Enterprise-B. This is seen as a flashback sequence at the start of Star Trek Generations, set shortly after the Undiscovered Country in 2293. We're also aware of significant political events in this time. Captain James T. Kirk may have made peace with the Klingons. Still, during the Lost Era, the Romulans and the Cardassian Union became big threats to the Federation and the galactic community. Of course, one major event is the launch of the USS Enterprise-B in 2293. Unfortunately, this was also marked by the significant events of the apparent death of Captain James T. Kirk. It was presumed Kirk was killed on the Enterprise-B's maiden voyage due to his attempt to save the ship and fix the systems. In reality, Kirk had been transported to the Nexus, a giant energy ribbon travelling through space. Starfleet presumed him dead due to no body being found. While this event was tragic, it permanently marked the Enterprise-B and her new captain, John Harriman. Officially in canon, that's all we know about Harriman. However, in the extended universe of Star Trek, which is told through books and games media, Harriman was ridiculed for his handling of the maiden voyage. Many of Kirk's former crew did not forgive the captain for the accident. Eventually, his career recovered, and he became a notable captain of the Enterprise. It's possible that the Enterprise-B could still be around during the time of the Section 31 movie. If so, it is likely that Harriman could still be in command. That, or his eventual first officer, could now be commanding the ship. Star Trek Extended Media told us that Demora Sulu would eventually be first officer and take over the ship once Harriman stepped down. The year of 2311 also saw Harriman involved in the Tomed incident. This event, which involved the Federation and Romulans, is seen as one of the biggest events of Star Trek's Lost Era. This event involves Starfleet intelligence, so it could easily be swapped for Section 31, and bam, you've got the plot of the movie right here. While the Tomed incident has never been shown on screen, we know the details. Star Trek The Next Generation revealed the incident led to the loss of thousands of lives. It also led to the signing of the Treaty of Algeron. This redefined the boundaries of the Romulan neutral zone and barred any Federation experiments with cloaking technology. It also saw the withdrawal of the Romulan Star Empire from interstellar politics. Official history records show the Tomed incident as having cost many thousands of Federation lives. This was apparently due to Romulan Admiral Aventir Vokar ordering his own ship, the IRW Tomed, to be evacuated of all crew but 6. Upon entering Federation space, the ship impacted an asteroid base, and its quantum singularity drive caused a massive explosion. The explosion destroyed dozens of asteroid bases, as well as at least one Starfleet ship, the USS Agamemnon. You get the point. The result of this horrific act of terrorism seemed to cost thousands of lives and massive damage due to disrupting space-time throughout the sector. The USS Enterprise-B was barely able to escape the destruction. Admiral Vokar apparently committed this act in the hopes of prompting a war with the Federation. His result backfired, as the previously neutral Klingon Empire sided with the Federation due to the incident. In reality, however, Admiral Vokar did not cause the Tomed incident. Only the lives of 6 Romulans were lost, not thousands as originally believed. The Tomed incident was a massive act of deception by Starfleet intelligence. Captain John Harriman and Starfleet intelligence operatives stowed aboard the Tomed and tricked her crew into abandoning ship. Following this, they hijacked Potomac and rammed it into Foxtrot Sector asteroid base. The catch? All the crew from the base, as well as the ship that I can't pronounce, and the other bases had been evacuated, but all were fitted with devices to emit false life signs to those who scanned. The actual deaths of thousands of Starfleet officers and crew had occurred in the previous year, yet these were covered up, and those officers were then recorded as having transferred to the Foxtrot bases and the USS Agamemnon. We're going to pretend I got it right. Therefore, it built up this fabrication. Harriman and the intelligent operatives were able to escape Potomac to the Enterprise-B, but Vokar and his crew were killed. So you see, Captain Harriman played a vital role in interstellar affairs. It also proves that Starfleet intelligence was again prepared to play dirty to get results that protected the Federation. It does almost sound like Section 31 when you think about it. It is possible that Section 31's movie could rework a plot of Potomac Instant to involve Section 31 rather than Starfleet intelligence. Lost Era novels called Serpent Among the Ruins and One Constant Star tell the stories of the USS Enterprise-B in various years. 2294 saw the disappearance of a legendary Starfleet engineer, Captain Montgomery Scott. His ship, the USS Jenolan, crashed on the surface of a Dyson sphere while en route to the retirement colony of Norpin 5. Ensign Matt Franklin and Scotty were the only two survivors of the crash. With dwindling supplies, the pair could not await rescue and place themselves in suspended animation by storing their patterns in the pattern buffer of the Jenolan's transporter. Scotty would eventually be rescued by the USS Enterprise-D in 2369. 2305 saw the birth of future Captain and Admiral Jean-Luc Picard on July 13th. Picard would later command the USS Enterprise-D and his successor, the USS Enterprise-E. In this same year, the USS Leon deGrant, under the command of former Enterprise Communications Officer Norita Uhura, ended its 5-year exploration mission of a lesser magnetic cloud. 2344 saw another major event that most Star Trek fans would probably be familiar with. This is of course the destruction of the USS Enterprise-C. Given it will see a young Rachel Garrett, this event is pivotal and worth mentioning. Sadly, we don't know much about the initial history of the Enterprise-C before her destruction. We know the ship is an Ambassador-class starship and was of course active before 2344. Appearing in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise, the Enterprise-C was known for bravely fighting off a Romulan attack on a Klingon colony. The ship was outgunned and outmanned, and was eventually destroyed over the planet of Naranda 3 by 4 Romulan warbirds. While the crew of the USS Enterprise-C were presented with a way to avoid their fate, having fallen through a temporal rift, they ultimately chose to return to the fate at Naranda 3, rather than live in a time where the Federation was at war with the Klingons and losing. Ultimately, the Klingon Empire was impressed by the Enterprise-C's courage to defend a Klingon colony and sacrifice. It further improved Klingon and human relations. In 2346, another pivotal event featuring the Klingons happened. This was the Khitomer Massacre. It also led to the complicated relationship between Worf and the Klingons. Following the Romulans' attempted destruction of the Klingon colony on Naranda 3, which claimed the USS Enterprise-C, the Romulans once again made a move. Worf's father, Moog, tried to warn the colony about the impending attack. Moog found that a traitor among the Klingon ranks had leaked the planet's defense codes. Jarod, as he was known, was the leader of the House of Duras. He collaborated with the Romulan Star Empire and provided the defense codes to the Romulans. Thus, the Romulans could lower the colony's deflector shield and attack. The attack claimed the lives of over 4,000 Klingons, which both Moog and Jarod were casualties. The story of Jarod will be told in the Star Trek Lost Era novel, The Art of the Impossible. Throughout the Lost Era, the Cardassians became a powerful force in intergalactic politics. In 2319, the Cardassian Union officially began its occupation of Bajor. This somewhat began in 2309, when the Cardassians offered to help the Bajorans. They spent a decade preparing to finally assert military rule over the planet, which they commenced in 2319. The Cardassian occupation not only claimed the lives of many Bajorans, but also claimed the planet's natural resources. With most of the population enslaved and the resources taken off-world to fuel the Cardassians' own aspirations, the Federation simply stood by for 50 years. They did this because intervening would be a breach of a prime directive. While the Federation stood around and did little, key figures such as Ambassador Spock and Ambassador Sarek disagreed with the Federation on the Cardassian occupation. Some have theorized that it could be possible that Section 31 sent operatives to fund the Bajoran resistance, such as providing weapons and supplies, therefore aiming to keep the Cardassians busy with the threat of resistance, rather than turn their focus to the Federation. However, the Cardassians would later focus on Starfleet and the Federation. The Federation-Cardassian Wars began in 2347 and lasted until the early 2360s. They're also known as the Border Wars. The most devastating conflict took place in 2362, the Khitomer Massacre. The attack killed most of the colony's inhabitants, including the family of Starfleet Captain Benjamin Maxwell. Chief Miles Ryan would become a hero of this engagement because he saved the lives of 13 people. Many Starfleet officers saw action in the Border Wars, including Jean-Luc Picard, Edward Jellicoe, and even future Captain Catherine Janeway. The conclusion of the Border Wars was difficult. Officially, a truce occurred in 2366, followed by an armistice in 2367. However, the final treaty was not signed until 2370, forming a demilitarized zone between the powers. Star Trek's Lost Era ends around the start of the 2360s. In this decade, we see many events through the run of Star Trek The Next Generation. Of course, Deep Space Nine and Voyager eventually come around, and before you know it, we're in the 25th century. A lot happened in the 24th century though. Significant events such as the launch of the USS Enterprise-D in 2363, which took place 19 years after the destruction of the USS Enterprise-C. Ultimately, Star Trek's Lost Era is a treasure trove of fantastic stories that we urge you to explore via the original novels. While we've told you about most of the major events here, there are countless other details, like Picard's time on the USS Stargazer that took place during this era. Once again, go and read the books these adventures are featured in. Trust me, you won't regret it. So, with the Section 31 movie on the horizon, do you think they'll cover a known event in the Lost Era? Perhaps a Tomid incident like we mentioned, or maybe something to do with the very early days of the USS Enterprise-B. Who knows? There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of potential here. Let's see what's out there. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.